Hello, this is Cotton Stoops, and welcome back to another late HTUC video. And thanks to the new update, I get to do another video again on a new Sweet Retreat Lumion called Fiscarna. Now, I really do not know what's this thing's potential. It looks pretty good on the defensive side and the offensive side, which is pretty concerning, but not too concerning because of the stuff that it can do. But yeah, today's video is how to use and counter Fiscarna, from things like the sets, teammates encounters, and of course weaknesses and resistances, and the many roles Fiscarna can play. This Lumion has everything you need to know on how to use and counter Fiscarna. So the first thing we actually need to talk about is what role does Fiscarna play, and thankfully that is actually pretty easy to answer with its base stats. The base stats of Fiscarna are pretty simple, with basically the worst things that you should be worried about is the 69 HP, very funny Jamie, and 23 melee attack, 79 speed. Now 79 speed is in all honesty not that bad because it does let you put in the speed tier of Valkyrie, Kazune, Borak, and some other stuff, and it does let you get a jump on them, but it does let you get underspeed by stuff like Wintrix, Zeppelin, and C.B.O, as well as some other stuff. This speed is definitely wall breaking territory, so yeah, that is actually pretty useful. And 69 HP is pretty low compared with its other defenses, although its range defense and melee defense will be kind of making up for it. And the energy and melee defense, like I was talking about earlier, are pretty average. Any 88 energy with low investment does get you to 250 energy, which is always good because you want to have at least energy invested as possible so you can distribute those TPs to other stats. And 87 melee defense is pretty okay, but not the best with its HP stat. However, Fiscarna's best attributes are its range attack and speed of 113 and 110. Well, not speed, range defense. Its range attack of 113, while not being the most damaging thing in the world, it does put you on the realm of stuff like Wintrix and Zulong, which is pretty good. And 110 range defense is pretty great because it is higher than Stratosaur's range defense, so that's pretty great. However, what role does Fiscarna play, you might ask? Well, this is pretty simple. Fiscarna's play of role, or that did not make sense, but you are basically going to be running a strong or mediocrely fast Fiscarna, which is pretty good because, well, it can compete on some other wall breakers, but it is bulky enough to set up safely and of course tank hits. It can be your team's melee tank, something like that, or range tank depending on what set you want to run. So yeah, Fiscarna is definitely pretty viable for most roles except being a sweeper or cleaner. So with that out of the way, I'll be talking about Fiscarna's weaknesses and resistances, so let's get along with it. Fiscarna's typing is pure water, which is actually pretty good for any defensive Lumion, and yeah, 3 weaknesses to plant, electric, and toxic. Now toxic types like Snagoop, Vanillin, Swolder, and Barblast are some toxic types you have to watch out for, but mainly you really want to watch out for stuff that isn't Barblast because your ability of Gummy will let you be immune to everything that Barblast can throw out at you. So yeah, don't need to be worried about Barblast, but plant types and electric types are stuff you should be worried about because plant types like Totab and possibly the Chartiki and Maomerk are some plant types you have to watch out for, but electric types, especially Zulong, Elephase, Joltooth, Iliguana, and Metatoad, are some big electric types you have to watch out for. However, its resistances of 4 of fire, water, ice, and metal are pretty decent. With metal types being everywhere, you do have the ability to switch in on Tyrex, Stratosaur, Valkyrie, Searnite, Oxydrake, and some other stuff when it's necessary. Ice types like, well, mainly only Wintrix, Tundulin, and the possible Himber are some stuff you can watch out for and switch in on. And fire types, mainly only Chartiki and I guess Searnite are some stuff you can switch in on. And you do wall Searnite with your resistances alone, which is pretty good. And water types, mainly Barblast, like I said earlier, which is pretty much free setup for you. Luminami as well, and C.B.O. So yeah, overall Fiscarna's typing is pretty great for the meta. So with that out of the way, I'll be talking about Fiscarna's sets, which are pretty interesting. So yeah, let's get along with that. So, the first set that I'll be recommending is a defensive Fiscarna. You can obviously run a lot more TPs that I'll be recommending in this set, so yeah, it's pretty much universal. The abilities of choice is pretty much all of them, mostly because, well, all of the abilities can work pretty well. In my opinion, I would recommend a Gummy or Regift one, mostly because Barbs setters like Gobidemic, Searnite, Wobblisk, Lumello are some good stuff to regift, and of course Gummy being immune to Barblast is also pretty great. So yeah, the moves of choice is going to be a Tsunami, Peace of Mind, and Mudslide, mostly because, well, Tsunami is mostly here because, well, Tsunami is your main stab move, it's 90 base power, and Peace of Mind is to set up your range attack and range defense. This helps you against some stuff like Wintrix, Zeppelin, and some other stuff, which is pretty great. Mudslide is mainly here, so, well, you know, you can get rid of traps. You can also hit the toxic types like Barblast and Venilin if you that want to switch in on you, and if you do not want to run Gummy, then Mudslide's pretty much essential. It does get rid of traps as well, which is pretty good. And Frostbeam, Stratagem, or Empathize are your fourth move slot options. In my opinion, since this is a defensive set, Stratagem or Empathize are pretty okay. But if you do not want to run Stratagem, which is perfectly fine, you can run Frostbeam, so yeah. The personality of choice is going to be a Robust, Clever, Very Frail, mostly because we want to maximize our defenses, but you can run personalities like Very Robust, Very Clever, Robust Smart, Clever Smart, and whatever. Very Frail is so we don't waste any other stats. And moves, or rather the items of choice, is going to be Halcyon Light or Milkshake, mostly because this thing has no recovery, so you want to run these items. And yeah, Soft Water is not the best because it costs a lot more energy than what you might think, and of course that's not really great for any Lumion. And the TPs of choice is 200 HP, mainly so we can boost our low HP stat to the highest. 20 energy is pretty self-explanatory, it gets us to 250 energy, and 120 and 136 melee and ranged attack defense is pretty good, because 120 melee defense with the 200 HP and your robust does let Tyrex have a 0% chance to 3-hit KO us with the health amulet, so yeah, that's pretty great. And 136 range defense is mostly here, so we can have a 5% chance, I'm pretty sure, of a smart Gobidemic using a Muck Blast to 3-hit KO us, which is pretty great because we can Mudslide Gobidemic. We can get rid of its traps, hazards, whatever, which are pretty good. And the 24's speed is mostly to outspeed 0 speed Stratosaurs, but other than that, you can invest those TPs somewhere else. And other than that, the other moveset, or rather the other set that I'll be recommending, is pretty simple with the offensive variant. All abilities can work this time, but I would rather pick Gummy, because Gummy does let you switch in on Barblast a lot more, which is pretty essential for most offensive wall breakers, so you can break those Lumions. And the moveset of choice is the same as last time. This time I would recommend Frostbeam over Stratagem, so yeah, that's pretty much it. And the personality is going to be Smart, Clever, Very Frail. Very Frail is because, well, you do not want to use any melee attack, and Smart Clever is to boost our reach attack and range defense, but while this is offensive, this is mostly speedy, so yeah. And item of choice is going to be Choice of Essence, Milkshake, or Health Amulet. I would rather pick the Essence so you can save that item slot for another more important Lumion. And the TPs is 104 HP, which is leftovers, 176 speed, outspeeds 200 Valkyries, which is pretty good, and it does let you outspeed some stuff below that. But if you want to invest more speed and click Clever, or rather click Nimble over Clever, you can of course do that. And 200 reach attack does let you maximize your range attack, and 20 energy is for 250 energy at level 50 battles. So with that out of the way, I'll be talking about Fiscarna's counters and checks, as well as its teammates, so let's get along with that. Since Fiscarna does have really low melee defense, a lot of melee attackers like Totab can really abuse this thing to the extreme, mostly because Timber Thrash is pretty great, And Tatseb can switch in on stuff like Tsunami, Mudslide as well, which is pretty good, and threaten, of course, threaten Fiscarna out. However, stuff like Mocho can also work, mostly because Mocho can set up on it. Deep Freeze is pretty good, and of course, well, overall Mocho is a pretty strong Lumion to run against water types. So yeah, and some other stuff you can run is Samurai, Cosmere Unleashed, and Zulong. Cosmere Unleashed is pretty good because, well, it resists a lot of, well, not a lot, but it has enough defenses for a 4 to 3 hit KO on, well, on the defensive Fiscarna, which is pretty great. And also you can hypnotize it and set up, which is pretty good. And Cosmere Unleashed is not the only stuff, because Zulong and Samurai are pretty good answers as well. Well, you mostly want to watch out for the possible Mudslide, but most of the time these guys are just revenge killers, cleaners, so you don't really have to use them up front against a full HP Fiscarna. So yeah, Ceramine's mostly here so it can resist the, well, can resist the Frost Beam, the Stratagem, as well as the Tsunami. So yeah, and Zulong is mostly here so we can hit it super effectively with Thunder Strike. And some defensive counter/checks is Stratosaur, Luminami, and Iliguana. Iliguana is mainly here because, well, while it can get hit super effectively by Fiscarna, it does have enough defenses to make it at least a 3-hit KO, and if not a 4-hit KO, as well as Iliguana being able to set up Magnify, Energize, other stuff like that. And it is also faster than a defensive Fiscarna, which is pretty important. Well, other than Iliguana, you can run stuff like Luminami or Stratosaur. Stratosaur is mainly here because it can set up Magnifies as well. It's immune to Mudslide, resists Stratagem, and of course, it doesn't really do enough damage to do enough threats to Stratosaur. And Luminami can pivot off of, well, it can pivot off of Fiscarna, which is pretty good. However, if you want to know some offensive teammates, well, it's pretty good because these teammates are pretty great all over the place, because Tatab, Samurai, and Meditoad are some good offensive teammates because, well, Tatab can break Luminami, Stratosaur, and Iliguana all pretty well. But if you do not want to run Tatab for that reason, Meditoad is a bit more safer. You just have to watch out from the Maroon from Luminami. So yeah, just watch out for that. Meditoad is probably the best answer for taking out the defensive counters and checks for Fiscarna, so yeah. And Samurai's also here mainly because of its coverage, being able to hit Luminami, Stratosaur, and Iliguana all super effectively. So yeah, you can run that. And mostly, like with Tatab, you can not run this like instantly because at full health Fiscarna does have the potential to beat you. So yeah, I would rather use these guys when Fiscarna are a lot more weakened. However, if you do not want to run these guys with Fiscarna, you can run other defensive teammates like Barblast, mainly here because, well, you know, Barblast is the best at anything because it can help deal with Tatab, it can help deal with Samurai, which is pretty good as well. So yeah, you can run Barblast, and some other options is mainly Obsidian, Stratosaur, and Setamars. Setamars is pretty good for the Zulong switch-in, and Stratosaur is mainly here because, well, it can deal with Cosmere Unleashed, as well as, well, mainly Cosmere Unleashed pretty well. It can also deal with Mocho pretty well too. So yeah, and Obsidian is also here because it can deal with Cosmere Unleashed and, well, not deal with Cosmere Unleashed, but it can deal with Tatab as well. So with that out of the way, I'll be talking about Fiscarna's conclusion. So yeah, let's get along with that. So yeah, this is the end of the video. If you have noticed like some slight misconceptions and some stuff that really don't add up, well, that's mainly because, well, I just went on vacation. The vacation was during the update and I was just working on this video today. So yeah, those are some reasons, but those definitely do not discredit what I just said. I am responsible for those stuff. So yeah, comment any criticism, add some stuff that I may have missed. So yeah, like the video if you did found the video informational, and like and subscribe because I do make other content like this. So yeah, make sure you go check that out. I do have a lot of great videos also there, and if you do want to see some other videos that I'll be making, especially on some metalumians and how to counter or use them, go check that out. Click the bell and sub too. And I do have a Discord server that you should join because, well, I'm pretty active there, and you want to get in touch with me, then of course you can do that as well. And yeah, so with that out of the way, just remember that Zulong is still a dumpster fire.